What's up guys, it's Project and it's finally here, my Dragon Ninja build, aka Ryu Hayabusa build. This is a hybrid build for super endgame, working both nicely outside of Live Weapon, but with Live Weapon it still tears through most of the hardest content fairly fine considering it's not entirely devoted to it. You'll need the new DLC to make this build as we're using the full Dragon Ninja set, Jin Hayabusa set, a new side boss after beating the 3 main missions of the newest DLC. You need the full set as the final bonus gives a huge damage boost to the Dragon Sword in Hayabusa+Kusa, and the boost is roughly 21% or so, at least from this test. But also, its 3-piece bonus gives you an even bigger boost, about 23% roughly from this test, so with the whole set combined, you're getting a lot of damage when used. The buff for the ninjutsu hit is short, about 5 seconds however, so it's only good for one shot, or what I use are Medusa powders or paralytic ground fires, as unlike Shuriken, they don't damage the enemy to where you would lose Tai Chi Art's full health passive, but also, so long as they affect the enemy, it'll continually refresh the buff. Speaking of Shuriken though, you also get unlimited amounts with this set. The damage is pitiful, but it does come in handy sometimes against humans who like to block when hit, like Date or Sonata. Just spam that to break their Live Weapon shenanigans. So overall, it's a great set for Sword and Kusa, and the 3-piece bonus might be worth using for some other builds, just as a 3 or 4-piece set for the damage buff. Though using a Medusa, then wanting to use Weakness Talisman too, can be too slow for some bosses. The second set I use is simply Amaterasu for the life and close combat damage bonus. Nothing special there. Since you have to use full dragon, there won't be much variations for builds using this set, so it's pretty basic. However, since we do get the new DLC, there are some new stats I want to make you guys aware of that you should be incorporating into your builds. So let's just go over the gear as normal. Because of Abyss mode, you can now make any divine into ethereal, so finally our smithy techs have use again. I basically forged until I got desirable star effects, then I went to the Abyss and defiled them. If you don't know how that process works, check out my Abyss video, I'll leave in the end screen annotations. But anyways, Dragon Sword, when you wear the full set, its blade turns into a purple glow. Very cool gimmick. Unfortunately, the sword has yokai close combat damage as a perma stat, so you automatically are weaker against humans with it since you can't put normal close combat damage on it. For the star effect, I chose EI because Kusa is doing all the Live Weapon stuff, and EI can do better against humans than Night Rain can. The new Flowing Shadow skill is alright, but ultimately weaker than EI and all the other ones. It can be used in Live Weapon though, so if you want to use sword in Live Weapon a lot, have at it with that star effect instead. Standard stuff now that attack times 2 and nullify aren't worth it anymore due to the heavy nerfs. For that reason, I went back to getting final blow damage for humans, and close combat attack for out of key enemies is alright if you really want to do isn't a drop stun mofos. Moving on to Kusa, like I said, I use both, so you need to reforge and perfect and upgrade for 2 weapons. I capped both weapons at plus 40 to be on par with the max you generally get from just playing Way of the Nioh, same with the weapon level being 300. The Kusa is arguably stronger and is basically only used for Live Weapons since normal Kusa attacks are pretty meh. I just use strong attacks in Live Weapon and still do a lot of damage despite not having Susanoo set. Same kind of deal, standard stats. I like Pierce Guard for blockers, and Close Combat Attack Enemy Scorch can deal some extra damage if you set the foe on fire, which you'll most likely do since we're a fire level weapon build. Weakened melee weapons is preferred over weakened torso just due to the insane damage everything does in Way of the Nioh, or even Way of the Wise, and it helps Living Weapon last longer for those encounters. For ranged weapons, you're going to want a cannon for extra fire damage. Because we're agility A, you want agility damage bonus obviously, and a Murder Urn for Living Weapon. If you need Amaterasu ranged weapons, just bring a bunch of divine cannons and defile them. Again, watch the Abyss video at the end if you don't know that process. For the helm, bonus from Amrita, increase attack inheritable, and something I wanted to try that's actually been pretty useful is elemental damage reduction when guarding. I put 3 of these on my setup, one on helm, one on gloves, and one on any other piece to reach 100%. This allows total immunity to elemental damage when guarding, so it's useful if an enemy broke you out of the weapon, or as a ranged elemental attacker like Sonata or Date. This allows you to recoup risk-free to activate all the buffs again and whatnot. For the rest of the armor, you want attack for more damage. Everything else should be pretty obvious to get by now. However, there are some new effects you want to get. First off is Close Combat Attack increase on gloves. It's a rare reforge, but increases damage for each consecutive hit. The damage increase seems to be pretty nice, so definitely get it. Status Ailment Relievement Strong Attack is also nice to have as well. Lowered enemy defense elemental on pants is nice. Obviously I chose Scorch since we're fire, an extra damage boost occasionally. And lastly is increase attack critical on boots. This gives you a boost whenever you go into critical, about 10-second buff before disappearing until you recover health and go back into critical again, but it's a nice buff for fast boss rushes like Rest of Spirits or the Abyss. Also don't forget to get tenacity so leeching talisman doesn't kill you. And yeah, that's all the armor, just copy what you can. Something that I noticed when making the build was getting damage to this point. Initially it felt pretty low, but after getting all the various buffs from stats on armor and weapons and finally getting ethereals and stuff, and plus 40, my damage became awesome. So just be aware that every effect is contributing and missing a few will result in substantially less damage. For charms, standard yokai, close combat damage, and level weapon attack enhancement, nothing too fancy. Get at least one Amrita Urn using level weapon stat for keeping up level weapon easier. Now for stats, I limited myself to 500. You can go as high as 750 now with an additional 1,000 extra levels towards 4 unique stats, so obviously I can get much better damage. Stats can now go past 99 too if you have the DLC, a maximum of 200. I chose to dump most into skills since most weapons use that stat, so they benefit from it, so I might not need to use the Book of Reincarnation for making other builds. I stopped at 36 spirit since there's no point going past that. Same thing with magic being at 30. Magic slots can increase past 40, the same with ninjutsu, but you need over 100 magic or dexterity to start gaining those extra jutsu slots, and I think the maximum is 51 jutsu at 200. But yeah, after getting skill to 200, just raise the other main stats as high as you want. If you plan to get 200 skill or dump all into one stat, make sure your weapons have change to attack of that stat for maximum benefit. And after this point, do whatever you want, honestly, it doesn't really matter anymore. If you're lower than this and don't have access to ethereals, simply cut all the stats in half except magic and spirit, depending on your level, and replace the Amaterasu armor piece with one fanatic. In fact, if you don't care for being full life at all and just want to use this as a low life level weapon hybrid build, just use one fanatic piece for armor and have normal ranged weapons. This will give you better damage than what I have now. For spirits, obviously Kato is the best universal spirit. The new spirits suck after testing as far as damage goes, and for secondary spirit it can be whatever you want. The bat and the mouse are the best damage boosters. For clan, I chose Kuroda. It still provides the most damage with 4 to 5 buffs up. Not much else to say about it, just use it. For magic and ninjutsu, here are the ones you want. Catwalking and super scrolls are great for doing planes and abyss. Same for earth folding talisman to escape after rushing to pick up your spirit from a boss that you fought in the abyss. You can also use it to check what boss is on the floor before attempting it. I always use leeching talisman for bosses, but I use carnage and steel for fighting normal mobs. You're going to want to use carnage first and then steel afterwards to get rid of carnage debuff. Medusa powders are for activating our set bonus, like I said, and paralytic groundfire is the same for Marabashi or enemies like Date and Co. Those really come in handy against humans. Now for passives and junk, I'm no longer covering that. You get so many skill points that you should just get everything before dumping the rest of your points into melee mastery. EI is our main skill against some bosses with sword. Backwave is my parry of choice. I like Flowing Shadow for killing normal mobs, Sword of Execution for Mystic Art. For Kusa, I just use strong attacks and the weapon to kill the tougher bosses, and generally it's just stronger and faster overall. Blade Spin is okay to have as usual. The new skills are pretty bad. Renegade Dragon simply too long animation wise. For Mystic Arts, you actually want the weight Mystic Art Shooting Star, as the new close combat attack increase stat on gloves makes it out damage the sickle art Waxing Crescent. So the weight Mystic Art is better now, despite Tai Chi Arts boosting Waxing Crescent more. And that, my friends, is my Dragon Ninja build. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm actually having a ton of fun with it. Who knew being versatile is more fun than spamming one skill on one weapon? The swordplay is really fun, and having the fallback of Little Weapon Kusa destruction without changing builds is always nice. As far as Abyss goes, I stopped at floor 50 for the footage. I honestly see no point going to absurd floors, at least for build videos, so with this cap all my builds will be around the same level and divine level and whatnot, since it's more accessible for more people. The Abyss is just made for getting ethereals or becoming redundantly powerful, and generally you scale with the enemies in Abyss, so if you're killing fine now in Way of the Nioh, you'll kill fine at floor 800 or something, so long as you upgraded your stuff, as there isn't much anything new added in those higher floors. If you want to reach floor 999, this build might be able to do it, but one guaranteed build is my perfect Susanoo build, as someone got to floor 999 using it, and not even the best version I mentioned in the Abyss video, so anything labeled weapon can pretty much make it to any floor, especially Kusa and whatnot. But for what's next, it's definitely going to be Spear, but I might just make an ethereal drop set build, aka a luck build, which I never made, at least not when deciding sets, so look forward to that one being next. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully the build gives you an ounce of Ryu's power. Read the video description for some more info on the build and how to get the gear. Ask any questions in the comments. Izunu, drop that like button, and of course subscribe for more Nioh epicness.